Hi there, we're cheating and divorce stories. And we're trying to build a community, no, a family, with you. If you love intense cheating stories, jaw-dropping divorce drama, or family betrayal tales that leave your mouth wide open, you've come to the right place. We're posting brand new stories every day. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join our growing circle of truth seekers and drama survivors. With that being said, let's dive into today's story. My name is Ryan, and I never expected Thanksgiving dinner to become the battlefield where my entire family turned on me. I always thought the holiday was about being grateful, sharing memories, and passing the mashed potatoes, not demanding I fork over my life savings. The house smelled like cinnamon and turkey when I walked in. Everyone greeted me like normal, except my sister, Marla. She gave me that smug half smile, the one she wears when she's up to something. I should have known right then that she had something planned. We sat around the long dining table, the kids watching cartoons in the next room, and the adults sipping wine and laughing about old memories. I was seated between my mom and Uncle Doug when Marla cleared her throat and stood up. I just want to say something before we dig in. She began, holding up her wine glass. Some of us here are struggling, and others are hoarding millions. The room went quiet. I felt everyone's eyes shift toward me before I even processed what she was saying. That's right, she said, turning her attention to me with a poisonous smile. Ryan here has been hiding something from all of us. He's worth $12 million, and he didn't even tell his own family. My mother's jaw dropped. My cousin coughed on his drink. Uncle Doug stared at me like I'd just committed murder. Is that true, Ryan? Mom asked, eyes wide, voice trembling. I swallowed hard. I never flaunted my wealth. I invested smart, lived modestly, and preferred privacy. I didn't owe anyone an explanation, but now it felt like I was on trial. Yes, it's true, I said, but it's my money. I earned it. Marla scoffed. You didn't even finish college. You got lucky in crypto or something. Meanwhile, I've got 3 kids, a mortgage, and a husband who left me. Don't I deserve some help? Deserve? I stared at her, stunned. I worked for every dollar. Late nights, risky investments, years of sacrifice. And now she was demanding it like I owed her something. Then Mom spoke. Ryan, your sister's right. Family helps each other. Maybe it's time you start acting like one of us again. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about love or family or support. It was about entitlement. I pushed back my chair, slowly stood up, and looked around the table at people I once trusted. You want to talk about family? I said, my voice steady. Then explain this. But before I could finish, Dad slammed his glass down and said something that made my blood run cold. Sit down, Ryan, my father growled, eyes hard as steel. You owe your sister everything. The words hit me harder than I expected. This was the man who once told me that no one in life owed you a damn thing. That if you wanted something, you got up and worked for it. The same man who scoffed at handouts and raised me to be self-sufficient. Now he was siding with Marla? I didn't sit. I couldn't. My legs were stiff with shock. What are you talking about? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Dad stood up, towering over me. You wouldn't have gotten where you are without this family. Your mother watched the kids while you took your meetings. Marla helped you with rent when you first moved to the city. And I gave you the seed money to buy your first laptop. My jaw clenched. That was 14 years ago, and you gave me $400. I paid every cent back. Dad waved his hand like facts were just annoyances. That doesn't matter. What matters is we supported you, and now you're too good for us. That line cut deep. No, I said, my voice tighter now. What matters is that I worked for everything I have. I lived in a studio the size of this dining room. I taught myself coding with no degree. I ate rice and beans for years to save money while you all laughed at my little projects. Now I'm finally secure, and suddenly I'm selfish. You're rich, Marla snapped. You can afford to help. I'm your sister. I deserve a fresh start. I turned to her. What exactly do you think I owe you? She didn't flinch. Half. The room went dead silent. Even my cousins, who'd been stuffing their faces and pretending not to listen, looked up in disbelief. Half. You're not serious, I said, almost laughing. This isn't a divorce. You're not my business partner. You're my sister, and I never agreed to give you a cent. Her face twisted in that smug, self-righteous way I hated. So you're going to let your family suffer while you sit on 12 million? I looked around the table. Their eyes were cold, judgmental, like I was the villain in some story they'd already decided on. And that's when I realized This wasn't just about Marla. They were all in on it. They knew about the money. She hadn't discovered it. They'd planned this. This whole dinner was a setup. Wow, I whispered, stepping back from the table. You really all think I owe you my life. Then Mom stood up, and her next words confirmed every suspicion I had. If you won't give it willingly, she said, reaching into her purse. Then we'll do it legally. She pulled out a manila envelope and slid it across the table. We're filing a family claim, she said coldly. You'll be hearing from our lawyer. For a long moment, all I could do was stare at the manila envelope sitting on the table, like it was some kind of joke. It wasn't. My own mother, the woman who once scraped together coins for my school lunches, was now sliding legal documents toward me over a turkey dinner, like I was some kind of enemy, like I wasn't even her son anymore. Marla grinned like she'd already won. We had no choice, she said, folding her arms. You wouldn't share, so now the court will decide what's fair. Fair. I laughed bitterly. Fair would have been asking me like a decent human being, not staging a Thanksgiving ambush. Dad stepped forward. Don't make this harder than it has to be, Ryan. You're outnumbered here. Outnumbered. That word burned more than anything. I looked around the room, searching for even one face that didn't look disgusted, expectant, or dead inside. Nothing. My cousin Taylor, who I once helped pay rent after his DUI, wouldn't even look at me. Aunt Cheryl, who cried at my graduation, now looked like she couldn't wait to see me fall. The envelope sat there like a loaded weapon. You really think this will work? I said slowly. You think a lawyer's going to take this seriously? Mom shrugged. It's not about what's legal. It's about what's right. The court will hear us out. And we have witnesses, proof of support, everything. They prepared for this. Dug through old texts, bank transfers, who knows what else. They had built a case against me like I was a criminal. I took a slow breath, reaching for the envelope, not to read it, but to toss it right back in their faces. But something stopped me. Not fear, not confusion, clarity. These weren't my family anymore. They were leeches, disguising greed as righteousness. I could argue, yell, cry. But what was the point? They wanted war. Fine. But I wasn't about to fight on their terms. I hope you've got a good lawyer, I said, my voice suddenly calm. Because you're going to need one. Marla rolled her eyes. Oh, please. Don't act like you're some genius. You just got lucky. Maybe, I said, pocketing the envelope. But I've also got resources. And I don't lose. The table fell silent again. Dad looked like he wanted to say something, but I was already walking out. I didn't even bother grabbing my coat. I needed air. As I stepped outside into the freezing night, the cold slapped me awake. It was like everything I thought I knew had shattered inside that house. But weirdly, I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. They thought they'd back me into a corner. They had no idea who they were dealing with. And as I reached my car, a small smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. Because tomorrow morning, I already knew who I'd be calling first. My personal lawyer and my private investigator. The next morning, I didn't waste time. By 9 a.m., I was sitting across from my lawyer, Nadine Rios, a woman known for ripping holes in lawsuits. Before they even made it to court, her office overlooked the city skyline, cool and glassy like her demeanor. I slid the envelope across her desk. She didn't even flinch, just opened it, skimmed through, and raised an eyebrow. They're trying to file a constructive family trust claim against your assets, she muttered, using alleged emotional and financial support as a basis for partial entitlement. In English? I asked. She smirked. They're trying to sue you for being successful while related to them. It's garbage. That was all I needed to hear. But it gets better, I said, leaning back. I want to investigate where the idea started. Who coordinated it? Any communication between them planning this? Nadine paused, her eyes narrowing. You want to go on offense. They want war, I said, so I'll give it to them. But not with yelling or pettiness. I want to destroy this quietly. Strategically. She nodded, grabbing her phone. I know someone perfect. By noon, I was in a dim, tech-filled office with Malik Barnes, former federal investigator turned private contractor. He listened quietly as I told him everything. At the end, he leaned forward. If there's dirt, I'll find it, he said. Text messages, financial trails, hidden motives. But why stop there? I tilted my head. Go on. You ever ask why they're so desperate now? Someone's hiding something. People don't get greedy out of nowhere. They get cornered. That stuck with me. What if this wasn't just about envy? What if someone was drowning and saw me as their lifeboat? Malik went to work immediately. By evening, he had already uncovered something. Marla was broke. Not just struggling, bankrupt. Her boutique had silently closed down 6 months ago. She'd maxed out 3 credit cards and taken out a predatory loan. She was days from defaulting. So the Thanksgiving stunt? It wasn't a demand. It was a lifeline. But that wasn't the worst part. That night, Malik called me again. His voice was sharper. "Ryan, I think you need to see this in person." I met him outside a downtown cafe, and he handed me a flash drive. "Your sister's not just desperate," he said quietly. "She's reckless. She tried to forge a power of attorney under your name." My blood ran cold. "She what?" Malik nodded grimly. "She thought if she could fake it, she could access some of your accounts. She tried 3 months ago. Got denied. But it's all recorded." My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't greed. This was fraud. And now, I had the proof. I looked up at the stars, suddenly calm. This wasn't just about defending my name anymore. It was about exposing theirs. And Thanksgiving? That was just the beginning. The thing about betrayal is, it sharpens you. Once the fog clears and the sting settles, you begin to see everything with brutal clarity. I had spent years building my empire. They had spent weeks building a trap. Now it was my turn. I didn't respond to the lawsuit directly. Nadine filed a motion to dismiss within 24 hours. Quiet, clean, legal. But I wasn't done. I let them stew. Let them believe I was rattled. That silence meant fear. Meanwhile, Malik kept digging. Turns out Marla wasn't the only one with skeletons. My father had taken out a secret second mortgage on his house. One that Mom didn't know about. And it was co-signed by Marla. They used my name as a future guarantor, assuming I'd pay it off eventually. They were betting on my guilt. That bet was about to go up in flames. I sent a message in the subtlest way possible. 2 days later, a courier delivered a single letter to my parents' house. No signature, no threats, just a printed copy of the forged power of attorney. A list of violations and one simple line: withdraw the claim or face federal charges. They didn't respond. Not directly. Instead, I got a call from my father that night. His voice was shaky, not angry, not firm like usual. Just hollow. "Son, we didn't know what Marla was doing. We thought she had your blessing." I said nothing. "I'll talk to your mother," he added. "We'll see what we can do." I could hear the unraveling behind his words. The lies slipping. The guilt surfacing. But I wasn't there to play mediator. I let him hang in his own silence and ended the call. Then I moved to phase 2. I contacted the lending company Marla had borrowed from, anonymously, of course, and tipped them off about her bankruptcy fraud. She'd hidden her true income from a short-term loan platform, trying to buy time with fake business invoices. The next day, her account was frozen. Malik texted me a screenshot of her furious Facebook rant. "Some people can't handle seeing their family succeed. I see you." Oh, I saw her. Clearly. And the best part? I hadn't lifted a finger publicly. Everything was done through legal channels, paper trails, and quiet moves. I didn't need revenge that screamed. I wanted revenge that echoed. Then, as I was sipping coffee that night, Nadine sent me a simple message. They just withdrew the claim. Quietly. No apology. I stared at the text for a long moment. They thought it was over. But then I looked at the calendar. It was almost Christmas, and I had one final gift to deliver. Christmas morning used to mean something in our family. Cinnamon rolls. Warm coffee. My mother's awful singing echoing through the house. Even when things were rough, we still showed up. This year, the house was quiet. No gifts. No music. No Marla. I hadn't planned on going. But something in me, curiosity maybe, drove me to stop by, just to see what my betrayal had done to them. I didn't even step out of the car. I parked across the street and watched through the front window. Dad sat slumped in his chair, head in his hands. Mom was at the sink, staring blankly out the window. The table was half set. No one touched the food. And Marla? Gone. Malik had confirmed she'd skipped town after the fraud notice hit her credit. Her boutique was officially bankrupt. She'd deleted every trace of her online presence. She was a ghost now, one she created herself. I didn't need to confront them. They were already facing everything I wanted them to. But before I left, I made one final move. I'd recently bought out a small media company that held controlling interest in several local outlets. Quiet transaction. No headlines. But this week, they ran a featured story. Local entrepreneur faces shocking lawsuit from family. responds with class and facts. The article laid it all bare, anonymously, of course. No names, no details that could be traced to me directly. But everyone in our community would know exactly who it was about, what they tried to do, and how badly they failed. They'd wanted my wealth, my resources, my silence. Instead, I took something far more permanent. Their reputation, their trust in each other, their legacy. Because from this day on, no one in our town would hear Marla or the Bakers without remembering what they did to their own blood. I drove away without saying a word. No dramatic goodbye, no final confrontation, just peace. The kind of peace you earn after surviving betrayal and choosing not to become what they wanted you to be. And maybe someday, they'll understand what they really lost. It wasn't the lawsuit. It wasn't the money. It was me. The only one who ever truly cared about keeping this family together. But they broke that. And I don't fix what others will only break again. If you made it this far into the story, thank you for watching. We're cheating and divorce stories. And we're building something here. A community of people who enjoy raw, real, emotional stories just like this one. If you like hearing about betrayals, justice, heartbreak, and healing, then this is the place for you. We post new stories every single day, and we'd love to have you as part of this journey. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us in the comments, what would you have done if your family ambushed you like this? Until next time, stay strong, stay sharp.